Who's your commander?
Good luck.
Equip.
Move to combat. Resolves.
Right.
Now, before you attack
Does
me,
anyone have an answer?
well played.
Good game.
Hello everyone, DJ here. This is the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel, and today I want to show you a brand new deck that I've built, and I'm super excited to show off to you. First off, I want you to take a look at this beautiful deck box created by Badger Woodcraft that I have this deck stored in. Not sponsored, just a Magic player that makes cool Magic stuff. So inside this cool other thing, I have my commander, which is Corvald Fey Cursed King. And to be honest, it's not a traditional Corvald deck. It is a sacrifice deck, but what it is it's Goblin Tribal Sacrifice. And so what does Corvald bring to the table when it comes to goblins? Well, for the most part, he brings the colors. Also, very on flavor that the dragon is sort of in charge of all of the little goblins. Because if we think about goblin decks, a lot of the times Krenko is leading some of the most powerful decks. But Krenko feels so one-dimensional. Don't get me wrong, I love Krenko in this deck particularly, but I feel like just being mono red and just making a massive amount of goblins is fun and all, but not exactly what I want for this deck. For this deck, I want to make a ton of different goblins, but I also want to be able to sacrifice them, like Pashlik Mons and Siege Gang Lieutenant and Goblin Bombardment and Goblin Sharpshooter. All of these sacrifice synergies end up dealing a ton of damage. It becomes sort of a Goblin Aristocrats deck. I also have the ability to make it sort of a Goblin Pod deck, where we have Birthing Pod and Pyre of Heroes, you know, playing relevant Goblin spells and then getting the value out of them and then podding into something better. So for example, we have a card like Beetleback Chief or Siege Gang Commander. We can easily play this, get our token value, and then pod away these into bigger, badder goblins. And that's actually something I want to mention because usually there aren't very many big goblins. And so when you do have a couple of them around, you definitely want a way to get to them. Kiki Jiki's a 5-drop goblin. Not a ton of combos in here, but if you want a Lightning Crafter or some sort of, you know, Zealous Conscripts combo in here, it can be in here, but I mainly have it for copying value. But I'm really looking to get up to Muxus and Goblin Goliath. Muxus has been insane in this deck. And actually, Muxus brings about another key strategy, which is playing with the top deck, this top deck manipulation. And this comes in the form of like Realm Walker being able to play off the top, Snoop being able to play off the top, or sort of combo off the top. We've got Goblin Ringleader and Goblin Recruiter. Those play really well with top of the deck shenanigans. And if you know what's on top of your deck, then you can pirate away or birthing pod it away and get new looks at the top of your deck or set up the top of your deck. So there's a lot more play to this level of deck because there's more shuffling, there's more searching, there's more big goblins. And along with those big goblins are also just fun ways to cheat them into play. I'm a huge fan of Goblin Lackey and Warren Instigator, being aggressive, getting down early, smacking someone, and then putting a big old commander beefy sized goblin onto the battlefield. Of course, we can just get it into play the old fashioned way of casting it with broken cards like Dockside Extortionists. Of course, you don't need the big goblins because you can make small goblins big in this deck. We're mentioning all of the token strategies, and so the number of lords and goblins is great. So if we talk about, like, you know, Mad Ante, Goblin Warchief, Goblin King, Goblin Chieftain, Goblin Trashmaster. Trashmaster is interesting too because it's also a sacrifice outlet on it, so it fills that sacrifice outlet role of aristocrats if we have some sort of engine going. Speaking of the engine we have going, we have another element to this. It's actually kind of a combo enabler. So first off, persist goblins are going to be really good if we're podding them away, if we're basically sacrificing them. We get 2 sacrifices out of them, we get 2 pods. But if we have ways to put +1/+1 counters on these and sacrifice them for free, like Grumgully will put a +1/+1 counter on them. You know, this Metallic Mimic will, this Great Henge, this Machias. All of those will put +1/+1 counters on them. I would say the best card for this sacrifice loop would be Goblin Bombardment. Of course, there's other sacrifice outlets in here, but this kills the opponents while being a free sacrifice outlet. You sacrifice this goblin, it persists back with a -1/-1 counter on it, and then boom, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and that takes away the -1/-1 counter, so you can sacrifice it and have it persist back again. All of these cards work the same. Machias works a little bit differently to remove that -1/-1 counter, but for the most part, this is just an awesome combination. And that's one thing that I really like about these style of decks, is that you have the aggressive goblin drops. You go tokens, you go big, you attack them, it's fun. But then if things stall out, if your opponents are playing a really great strategy, then you have the reach to be able to combo them out. I also like the reach of being able to mess with your graveyard. One of the best goblins, angels, dragons that I've seen has been Grave Shifter. It plays with all those wonderful synergies, but gets something back. Boggart Auntie gets something back every turn. And of course, we could get everything back at once. You know, we have our pick of the litter when it comes to black recursion, and so we can include tons of different cards. I've just really loved Patriarch Spitting in the past. I think it's a fun card. The symmetrical effect, I think, makes it pretty exciting too. Overall, that is my Goblin deck. Here's why I like it. It attacks well, it cheats things into play, either through podding it, through getting tons of mana, through, you know, just Warren instigating, connecting, and then dropping things that are huge. We have a crazy curve. We're not playing a lot of 1-drop goblins. We are playing all the 6-drop goblins that we can. And then of course, if we need some dragon action to come onto the battlefield and draw us cards, we can do that. I feel like a lot of goblin decks or a lot of aggro decks kind of peter out, but I love the way that this can just stay in the game by getting value at every single stage along the way. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this deck. By the way, if you like this playmat, it's a Dragon Shield playmat. They support the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel. I like them, so check them out. If you like beautiful deck boxes, then check out Badger Woodcraft. Not sponsored, but really, really great quality stuff. And he's a Magic guy, so I'm a big fan. And then, of course, there's Cool Stuff Inc. They sponsor the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel all the time. Jumbo 5 saves you 5% off your order. Thanks, Cool Stuff Inc. And then, of course, there's all of you that are my patrons, all of you that connect with me in the comments down below, that like this video. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.